Dead Joke Nation? Welcome back for another video. Dead Joke Gaming here with another episode 3 of Thoughts in Gaming. Okay, it might be 4. I'm going to say 3 though. I'm going to take a gamble and say 3. I kind of lost track. I know already. I'm kind of sick, so that's my excuse. Today, this episode is going to be talking about Jedi Fallen Order. Okay, now before I start, I had someone ask me why do I call it Thoughts in Gaming and why don't I call it a review. Essentially, a lot of these games that I own, I haven't finished yet, and I personally can't justify reviewing something that I haven't completed. So rather than call it a review, I call it thoughts. You know, it's my thoughts so far. So if I didn't complete it, I can give you my thoughts on what I think so far about the game. If I did complete it, I'll give you my complete thoughts, which essentially is a review, but I don't have a numerical score system. So that's that. Or even a letter score system. Jedi Fallen Order. So when this game got announced, a lot of people, including myself, were excited, but also very hesitant because it's been a while since we've had a single player Star Wars game. I mean, the last single player Star Wars game was Star Wars Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2. The Force Unleashed 3 got canceled. I'm sorry. The Force Unleashed 3 got canceled once Disney purchased Lucasfilms. So that was something that I found out recently. See, man, I'm sick and I'm still trying to get y'all some content, you feel me? But when Jedi Fallen Order came out and they showed the trailer, the gameplay trailer, it hyped up everybody, especially being a Star Wars fan. And then they said, it was reminiscent of Dark Souls combat. And I'll get into combat in a minute. But, yeah, it was definitely something that everyone was looking forward to because we were itching for a new single-player Star Wars game. So with that being said, I mean, it lived up to the expectations. I'm not going to lie, it did. So the story basically, without spoilers, the story follows a guy named Cal, played by Cameron Montague. I think that's his name. The guy that played Joker in Gotham TV show. It follows him. This game is set a little bit after Order 66, the order that Palpatine gave to basically treat all Jedi as rogue. But this happens after Order 66. And Cal is in hiding, like every Jedi, just trying to get by. And something happens where he's discovered, and then he has to go on a path to find himself, find his meaning in life, and possibly even rebuild the Jedi Order. So, now that that's out the way, the visuals are amazing. The visuals in this game are, without a doubt, some of the best visuals I've ever seen. And a prime example is like with E3 demos. A lot of E3 demos will look visually amazing, I guess, to get you pumped, to get you excited. And then once the game comes out, a lot of times the visuals are kind of dumbed down or they're kind of changed. A good example of this is like Spider-Man PS4. Spider-Man PS4 on the E3 demo looked way better. And this is saying something because the game looks amazing, but it looked even more amazing during the E3 demo. This was not the case with Jedi Fallen Order. Hair follicles move individually. Weather effects are great. Lighting effects are amazing. The shadows, the backlight, dust particles, the facial expressions. Now, the one thing I will say is that Cameron, his facial expressions are kind of bland at times, but everybody else's facial expressions are amazing. There's these enemies called sisters. One of the main sisters, they're called Inquisitors. One of the main sisters that you fight, her facial animations are amazing. You can see every little emotion, every little tick is great. Now, environments are plenty. There are plenty of different environments, different scenery. You visit different planets. And that's another thing. This game is kind of a God of War style open world. Like with God of War, you could go back into the game after you beat the story and travel to different areas and places. This is no exception. It might, I think it's even a little bigger. It is a little bigger, actually. So your main hub is your ship, and you have your crew, and you can travel to different planets and discover more secrets. The one thing I like is that when you open a map, the map will actually show you where, like, what secrets you haven't discovered yet, right? Outlined by like a red or yellow, whatever. So I like that. I like that about the game, that there's quite a lot post game content in the game, right? We all like that as gamers because we want something to do after we beat the game. So that's awesome. Combat. All right, so this is where this game shines. Jedi Fallen Order has some of the best. You know what? The combat system isn't complicated. It's not complicated, but it's not simple either. There is a kind of skill to the combat that you have to master. And like I said earlier, this is reminiscent of Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, you have to know how to block. You have to know when to run. You have to know when to dodge. This is no exception. Enemies will fuck you up. Even like the smallest of enemies, they will kill you if you're not careful. And then obviously the bigger enemies are no exception. So there have been plenty of times where I got overconfident and I died because of my cockiness or because of my overconfidence and because I didn't respect the enemy. So with that said, lightsabers sound amazing. Respawn, EA, y'all did your thing. All right, these sabers sound even more accurate than Force Unleashed, even more accurate than Battlefront 2, whatever. They're amazing. You can unlock multiple colors. It's just crazy. No red saber. I know a lot of people were very upset and no red saber, blah blah. He's not a Sith. It wouldn't fit the narrative of the story if he had a red kyber crystal. So they didn't give him a red kyber crystal. All other colors, sure, but not red. I was okay with that, right? There's mods you can probably download to fucking get a red kyber crystal. But with that said, like the lightsabers have a lot of use. So if you're in a dark area, you can use the lightsaber as like a flashlight. That's really cool. It's just awesome. There is the blocking. Blocking comes into play when you're facing normal level 1 stormtroopers that just shoot at you. And if you time it right, you can reflect the bolt blast back at the stormtrooper and kill them with one hit. You have parry. Parries are timed differently based on the enemy. So different enemies will have different speeds at which they attack, different attack patterns. It's up to you, and you have to basically memorize and learn every enemy's attack pattern so you can parry effectively and get a counterattack. He does have force powers. He wouldn't be a Jedi without force powers. So he does have force powers. Force powers can be anything from force slow, you have force push, force pull, and they are used more than just in combat. For example, you can force pull a vine that's far away from you so you can swing to another location. You can force push a door open. You can force push, different enemies will have weaknesses. Like one of the enemy types, while he's attacking, you have to force push him, and that'll stagger him. So that's really cool. I love how they did that. Everything has a meter. Obviously, it wouldn't be challenging without a meter. I think even your blocking has a meter. But the enemies have a blocking meter too. So if you're attacking an enemy and they're blocking, you're going to wear their blocking meter down, and then they're open up for a finishing blow. But you have that same thing. So if you're constantly blocking, you have to be careful. You have to know when to dodge. So the enemies can constantly hit you. They can constantly wear down your block meter, and you'll be opened up for a pretty devastating attack. It's really easy to get swarmed in this game. So with that said, the combat in this game is challenging, but not so much where it's frustrating, if that makes sense. So with that said, man, this game is pretty amazing. Now, the next thing I'm going to get into is the sound effects. The sound effects in this game, like I said about the lightsabers, are some of the best I've ever heard in a video game in my life. Everything from like the blaster bolts to different types of weapons. Like some of the enemies have like a bow staff style weapon with like energy blades on them, and you can hear the crack, kind of like Kylo's lightsaber, you can hear the crackling sound effect. They don't look like Kylo's lightsaber, but I'm talking about the sound effect. The like different environments, like when you go to like a jungle environment, different animals that you hear, and the birds, and the wind, and the rain, and stuff like that. Even when you're swimming, you do get a breather, so you can swim underwater and all that other stuff. And then you get onto the music. The music, I cannot express enough how much Star Wars is nothing without their music. I don't care who says otherwise. Star Wars is nothing without the music. That opening crawl, when you first go into a Star Wars movie or watch the cartoon, gets you hype. It gets you hype, and it's no exception with this game. Bottom line, you will get hype whenever you hear battle music. Whenever you're in a cutscene, you will get hype. Now, all the stuff I'm talking about, I ran into an issue, and the issue has not been fixed yet. And let me know if you guys ran into this issue as well. Basically, and I looked it up, and other people have ran into this issue, and it's in the EA's forum too. I will run into audio stutter pretty frequently, especially during cutscenes. I'll run into audio stutter. The characters' voices will lag behind their lips moving. I ran into a crash at one point, like my game will constantly crash. I know they fixed that, but the audio stutter, I'm sure hasn't been fixed yet. So that's kind of a bummer. The music will kind of stutter in and out during cutscenes. During normal gameplay, it's okay. But during cutscenes is where it seems like it gets very, very stutter and laggy. Did it hinder my experience? Not really. I just couldn't stream it because I can't justify streaming something like that. Like with those many issues, I just can't justify that. But it didn't ruin my personal experience. Like I've started the game over on the harder difficulty. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Jedi Fallen Order. It's an amazing game. Respawn, EA, y'all did your thing. I'm hoping to see a Jedi Fallen Order 2 next year. Or even an announcement for this year. That'd be great. I doubt it, but we'll see. With that said, I really do hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Thoughts in Gaming, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.